Hey, Andre.
How are you doing, John?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
You're at home, or
I am at home.
is that how ITV works these days? Looks these days.
Yeah. Yes.
And we're joined by Ian and Abigail. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
How you doing, Ian?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Andre, I haven't seen you so long. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
And Abigail too.
You're muted, Abigail. But I can unmute you.
I've got it done. But my Zoom quits. The first time I've ever had that happen, it crashed.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come.
Well, on Friday in London, Virgin went down. No, Thursday. It was Thursday. Virgin Media went down for a good part of the day. So, and on Friday I had to do for the entertainment class. I did an online tutorial in fixed rig entertainment, and I hadn't finished it. On Thursday, I hadn't finished it, and I was like, I need to finish it.
Well,
how is everybody?
People are starting to join us, so we should just be aware that we now have people watching us. We'll give it a couple of minutes for people to join in. While we're waiting, who's the kind of furthest out graduate? I couldn't work out whether it was you, Ian, or Abigail. I didn't have it in front of me. What year did you graduate, Abigail?
Well, Ian and I both graduated the same year, 2012.
Same group.
We are brother and sister.
And Andre, how many years did you overlap?
Yeah, 1 year, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, you were under us.
Yeah.
It's our little brother.
Yeah, I graduated a year after.
Picked up all the bad habits.
Why?
Or all the good habits.
No, he learned what not to do.
Yeah.
Very good. Right, so we've got an hour or so, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm going to dive in while people join us. So this is a part of a series we're doing called Alumni on Zoom, and every week we're looking either at a different department or we're looking at a show. So we looked at Chernobyl because that was shot and production designed by graduates of the school, and it's just a chance to bring alive what each of these different specialist areas are all about. So before we dive into what you're doing now, why don't you say a little bit about what each of you were doing before you came to the school? So Abigail, do you want to kick us off, and then maybe Ian, and then Andre? What were you doing, Abigail, before you came to the NFTS?
So directly before coming to NFTS, I was a managing editor of a very small digital TV channel. At the time, it was called Community Channel. It's now called Together TV. But I came to the school as a mature student. So before that, I'd worked in fashion as a model agent and as a fashion photographer's agent. I'd worked in retail. So I had done other things before I got to film school. But predominantly, directly before joining NFTS, I'd worked at the Community Channel for about 5 years. Right,
and you knew why was the television entertainment course the one that you applied for? Was it?
It wasn't originally.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't. Originally, what had happened, I never finished my first degree. So I started a politics degree and never finished it. And then before going to retail and then into fashion. And then in 2009, I decided I was gonna, because the company was restructuring and I had some personal stuff that I was dealing with, and I was gonna get, I decided I was gonna leave. And then I decided that would be the time to do an MA, and I actually had a place at Bournemouth to do documentary, but I couldn't start for personal reasons in 2009, but I knew I wanted to do a degree. I knew I didn't want to wait another year to start, and I was like, I need to just do a degree. I just want to get this, otherwise if I don't do it now, I won't do it. I know what I'm like. And my friend said, have you considered NFTS? And I was like, I'd heard about them because we had tried to get films from the NFTS to go onto the channel. But NFTS were like, no, we're not giving them to you. So I knew about NFTS. And but I knew about also who was in their documentary. So like Kim Longginetto alumni, Nick Broomfield alumni. And I was looking at them going, there is no way they're going to let me in. I kept going back to the website and found the TV course. And I thought, actually, I love documentary, but my personality suits entertainment way more. Right. So that's why I picked entertainment. Yeah.
Ian, what about you? What was your story?
It went funny enough. So initially, I always wanted to be an actor, way back when. Yeah, so that's kind of my ambition initially. And my one claim to fame to acting, I actually got to perform at the Old Vic. I think it was back in 2002. There was a scheme run by London Talent with RADA, Lambda, and Bigfoot Theatre Company. So then we got to put a performance on at Old Vic, which was great. And that kind of ignited even more so my want to work in the industry. But going through the rigmarole of the audition process, like, this isn't quite for me, because one, you're not really in control of a career, and more so, I like creating. So I did enjoy being in front of the camera. I felt more substance behind the camera. So then I was trying to make the transition behind the camera. But with my parents, they're very much like, go to university, make sure you get all your grades first before you then become a professional clown, as I like to call me. So like Abigail, I did American studies and politics at uni. But I had a great tutor there who guided me towards NFTS, and he was very much a good influence in terms of working out what would be best for me, because I always wanted to do comedy and drama, and the TV course seemed like the best course that allowed me to do that, especially for TV, but also understanding the full merits of game shows, talk shows, all sorts. So getting that full understanding of the TV landscape, but then specializing in scripted. So with the help of my tutor at uni, and then a few people who was working at the BBC with at the time, applied to NFTS, got in for the interview, and then literally from the first day I arrived, I said to David Croft, I'm here to do comedy and drama only. And he's, yeah, we'll see about that, son. But he's been very supportive of me since. So that's kind of my journey to get to where I am now.
That's amazing. So already, actually, it's interesting, isn't it? Abigail's original interest in documentary and what you've gone on to do, Abigail, some of the work you've done, and Ian, your focus in comedy and drama. So we'll come back to some of that. Andre, you're next. What were you doing before you came?
So I was working at Endemol in Portugal. After I graduated, I kind of wanted to do a master degree. And I really knew that I wanted to work in TV. So I found out about the degree at NFTS, which I thought, all right, that's perfect for me. And I've applied, and I could actually have been on Abigail's and Ian ears, because I've applied twice. And on the first year, I got rejected. So I got a big letter with some red letters saying, oh no, you haven't been successful this time. I said, all right. And then I started working at Endemol in Portugal for 2 years on shows like Dancing on Ice and Big Brother and stuff like that. And I've applied again, and then I got into the course the second year.
Andre, you were already working then in the TV industry. What was it that attracted you to doing an MA at that point?
So
you could have just worked your way up, I assume, within Endemol in Portugal.
Well, I could, but also, I think it would take a little bit of time to actually gain entertainment experience in directing and in producing, and I just want to fast track that and come to the school. And I knew I could finish the school with a grad show as well. So that was very appealing. And I always wanted to live in London for a bit. So that was appealing too. So I just decided to go for it.
Great.
Best decision ever.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. So, Andre, you just talked a little bit there about the kind of attraction of making a grad show.
Yeah.
I remember yours distinctly. We're going to go back round the other way now. You made a big game show as your final. Do you want to say a little bit about what you did as your final project?
Yeah, so I've co-developed a game show called The Big Steal with Antti. And then I produced it and Antti directed it, and it was a game show, a studio game show, and we just went all out. And we pulled loads of favors, and it ended up getting optioned by Warner Brothers, and then a distribution deal as well in a few countries with Global. It was really good. It was a great experience. And the best thing was really that there were no boundaries apart from the budget. So that was great. We could do just whatever we wanted, really.
My memory of it was a really epic sort of show. Yeah. It was huge. The music was amazing. It was really great. Yeah,
it was really good because everyone really put their effort into it. A lot of departments around the school, the composing, Alex Harwood was the composer, Roma was the set designer. Everyone worked really, really hard to make something massive. And it looked really, really big. We had a massive audience. We played the music cues in it. It was really the real thing. And it felt really, really good. I don't know the next time we would be able to do something similar at that level. It would take a couple of years. So, that was great.
And Ian, what was your grad show?
So mine was a sitcom called Down on Loan. And when I was at film school, so with Abigail, and we were one of the last years where you actually got to produce and direct your own grad show. So that was quite a challenge to undertake in itself.
So was that because there was 6 in your year?
Yes, yeah. We're
Ian, remember, we also production managed as well, remember?
Oh, you had to do it properly then.
Yeah.
Sharing.
We were slightly greedy on the credits.
Before I stumbled into this, you didn't work together on the sitcom, or you did? You paired together or not?
No. So it was
just road shows.
Yes, yeah. So we had 6 individual shows in our year. I definitely had to use everyone in the year to as a sounding board, just to make sure the actual idea I had was funny. So the sitcom was about this lady who's come from America, had a very kitsch idea about how British libraries are run, and wanted to save this inner city library from basically being demolished. And then through the episode, they basically try to hold a book reading for a new author, but they get it mixed up because the author's actually a war veteran, and they think he's written a book about zombies. So obviously through various mishaps, he comes to the reading and there's a zombie flash mob at the library, and which triggers a bit of a relapse for him. Sounds very silly, but it was good fun. So yeah, I had great time creating that. Great support at the film school. What was nice is I had another graduate from the film school, a wonderful chap called Michael Aryeh, who helped me co-write it as well.
Yeah.
That at least helped alleviate some of the additional stress and pressure of creating all from scratch.
And was that in the studio or on location?
So that all completely on location.
All on location. So whereas Andre's was all in our multi-camera studio, you went out on the road.
Yeah. So me and a troupe of wonderful students, because again, like Andre, we had great collaboration from the cinematography department, sound design, production design, composers. So it was really like a mini studio to kind of put it all together. It's great fun.
Was there somebody famous in it? Did you have a good
I had an incredible cast. So I had, I've forgotten her last name now, Louise Ford, who was in The Windsors.
Oh, right, yeah.
I had David Finn, who did an NBC comedy series with the creator of Scrubs, which name's now slipped me. He was also in Sherlock, The In-Betweeners, and various other great comedies. Another chap called Christian Brasington, who was in Peakland. Sarah Coke, who was in Plebs, and what's his name, Bentley, who has also done Mission Impossible. So everyone from my shows had great careers, but it's definitely that.
They all started with you.
Oh, yes, very much.
And Abigail, what about you? What was your grad show?
So my grad show was a music entertainment show, and I wanted to do it as an outside broadcast because I thought if I never become a multi-camera director, I want to have the experience of working outside of a studio. So the premise of it was a bit like a kind of updated Top of the Pops. But instead of it being based on record sales, it was based on social media. So how many likes, as well as sales, views on YouTube, plays on Spotify, all that sort of stuff. But the idea, because I think at the time there was a lot of talk in the industry about regionality. And so the way I wanted to incorporate regionality was that each week you would go to a different country house, so that the audience in there were from that local environment. So I decided that I wanted to do it in a sort of posh kind of like private members-y kind of club sort of thing, just something grand. And the first place I got was on Portland Place, and but we got shut down because the guy who owned it was in jail. So Westminster Council basically said if you continue with using that place as a location, you will be prosecuted and you will probably end up in jail as well. So I had to find a new venue, and we ended up doing it at a place called the House of St Barnabas in Soho Square.
Yeah, very posh.
Yeah, it was an amazing place. Actually, Nick Powell was the one who helped me get that venue.
He did.
Yeah.
He was a member of all those clubs.
Exactly. So we shot in there for 2 days over the weekend. We ripped out the studio, which had never been done before. We took PED cameras there. The cinematography year were taught how to use PED cameras, which they've never done before. They had the shock of their lives. But we had 2 great days there. We got amazing feedback from the location owners who were used to TV crews going in there, saying that we were the most happiest, tidiest, and we got out on time. And we had fun. It was amazing. I loved it. It was a great experience. And it really made me think that that's what I want to do. So I'm glad I did it.
So you all in very different shows, which is kind of great and illustrative of what happens on the course. Who can answer the question, how does the producing directing thing work on the course? Who could talk to us about that? Because it's quite unusual at the NFTS that you do both on this course. So maybe talk a little bit about how that plays out on the course and what that's meant for you now. Has it been useful? Who wants to take that?
I'll take that.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely think it's useful because you can understand, because you're working as a team, you've got to be collaborative. It's teamwork. The whole thing is, working with crews is teamwork. But it's good to understand what the other role is doing in terms of what is important to them and what they're trying to bring to the production. So it's good to have an understanding about both of the different roles. And I think even more so because with Ian and myself, our year, we didn't have production managers for television.
Yeah.
So we had to produce, direct and production manage at the same time. I think sometimes it makes it a bit more difficult for me because I want to get in and do everything because I'm so used to getting in to do anything, especially when it came to the grad. Up until the grad, you do swap roles. So if you do it like we did the 4 o'clock show, which is one person will direct an episode, the other person will produce it, and you swap round. So you do swap round the roles. But in your final year, when you're doing your grad project, well, in our year, when we were doing our grad project, you did everything. I did everything. We did everything. We had to. So, yeah, it's kind of a blessing and a curse because I'd like getting stuck in, but then I have to pull back and remind myself, production is somebody else's job. Producer's got to do that, and I've got to concentrate on doing the creative vision and putting that on screen. But yeah, I'm glad I did both there.
Anyone want to add to that in terms of how it works? We talked a bit about the 4 o'clock show, now called the 5 o'clock show, which we're in.
It was the 5 o'clock show. I think because it's Ian. Ian did the 4 o'clock show. Ian directed the 4 o'clock show in the real world.
Did you know that? I mean, Abigail, you kind of said that you wanted to direct, but knowing what producing is has been helpful. But maybe Andre, you've done more producing on leaving. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, a bit of a mix of both. After leaving, I've never done multi-camera. Well, I've done 2 cameras, but that's like PD, normal one. But I was glad to be exposed to multi-camera directing at the school because, I think it was a useful skill to get. And I think that's the beauty of it is that, although I wanted to focus more on producing it, I also learned about directing multi-camera. But more than that, I think it's how to tell a story via camera work, which was important, and I think that played a lot into then when I became a PD on Ninja Warrior, for example. So, I think the beauty of the course is that it gives you both subjects, which, they are not mutually exclusive. So I'm glad I've done it. And it was great. And it kind of played, even though if now I direct less and less, it also helps when you are getting a creative vision to putting stuff together, to have, both sides that you can just, work your head around it and how it's better to give it.
And the other question is, what is entertainment? Ian, do you want to take this one? Because I think some people looking at the course don't quite know what that is. A documentary is kind of clear and animation's clear, but what's entertainment? Surely everything should be entertaining.
Pretty much, yeah. Entertainment kind of covers the full breadth of the TV landscape. So you've got everything from your magazine kind of programs, so like your Top Gear programs like that, to your game shows, to quiz shows, to sketch shows, both multi-camera studio and also single camera stuff on location, like Cardinal Burns. You've also got kind of falls into some of those docudramas like Ernie Wayne's Essex, stuff like that. I know that's called more factual entertainment, but it's still part of entertainment landscape. So when it comes to entertainment TV, it covers so much of the breadth of television that we all enjoy. Yeah.
And you enjoyed that, did you? That sort of variety of content on the course?
Me personally, yeah, because I think what's nice, it informs you just understanding better to be a greater storyteller. Yeah. And understanding then also what techniques you can borrow from one to inform another. So it's very, very handy because no other course will gonna give you that breadth of knowledge to really understand this is how a multi-camera quiz show works, to this is how a multi-camera comedy show can work, also single camera. So you get a great knowledge to understand actually how to be a more complete, a robust filmmaker.
But you knew when you came that you wanted to work in comedy, so
Yeah.
was that not frustrating to have to do game shows and stuff like that, or it's all helpful?
Tell the truth.
Well, I think it's more because, for me, because I'm always trying to find a joke in something. So unless it's a serious matter, it allowed me to try and see where can I be funny, if not through the content, then through my camera work. And with the all the material and the content, so that was quite nice. So when we were doing like the 5 o'clock show, I'm making sure I had good guests who fulfilled, I guess, my need for comedy or drama, stuff like that. So there's always ways for me to at least bring in some kind of comedy thread throughout it.
It's kind of funny that you say that. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's kind of funny because I also liked a lot of the game shows and all that stuff. Or in all the other projects, I've tried to do the same thing, which was to incorporate, elements of my favorite bits from the course into that particular project. So it's kind of interesting to see that everyone.
So you all played it your own particular way.
So.
Yeah.
Can I just make a point though? I didn't want to be a director when I first got to the film school.
Oh, okay, right. Interesting.
I originally was going to. I wanted to produce. When I was at the TV channel, I'd always attempted. Originally, when I got there, I did acquisition, so I was getting content in for the shows, for the channel. And with the shows, I would do wraparounds, which were just like introducing the show, and I would produce those, and I would have someone who I didn't realize at the time I was directing them, but I was really about the writing. I wanted to create the ideas. I wanted to produce them. I wasn't interested in directing. It wasn't, and when I got to the school, and the reason why I took the course was I thought it'd be good to understand what directing is, but I'm not really there. I'm all about producing. When I leave, I want to work towards becoming an entertainment producer. I'm all about that. That's what I want to do. And then I sat in the director's chair, and then I was like, hello, this is nice. I like this. And so I changed my mind, but it was only because I was exposed to directing. I think if it was just purely producing and production, I probably would have done it and enjoyed it, but I kind of know now that it was a great opportunity to try things out and then not be so fixed on them.
Yeah, that's right.
My mind.
Sorry, just add to Abigail's point, because what's great about it as well is because you get to try both producing and directing, you get to understand better your strengths and then work out which to effectively to pursue better, because that's what course allows you to do, to at least experiment before working out actually this one best suited for.
Yeah, I think it is because what you're saying, Abigail, I've seen it go the other way, which is people come and think, I'm going to be a director, and then they sit in that chair and it kind of goes to pieces, but they realise how much creative control they can have as a producer. So
also the other thing, because I noticed on the marketing for this, people put things like 24 Hours in A&E is entertainment. Strictly, that is documentary. It's a documentary, but it's entertaining of sorts. But I think that's what some people just do get a bit confused, and I have to remind myself it's documentary. I was doing in the research I was doing for the course that I gave the NFTS students, the producing and directing students on Friday. It was all about fixed rigs, about the history of fixed rig, because that's what I do.
Explain, Abby, just say what fixed rig is. Just
okay. So fixed rig is, there's not a dictionary definition, so this is just my definition. It's basically where you use PTZ cameras, which are pan, tilt and zoom cameras, which are very similar to the CCTV cameras you see in shops. They are put into, in inverted commas, and a very telly word, a precinct, which is just like an institution or a location. So it could be a hospital, it could be a school, it could be a villa, and they are located in an unobtrusive manner, in an unobtrusive way, to basically document the events and the people within that location or within that precinct. So I can't remember who exactly said it, but somebody said that they felt that fixed rig was the truest form of documentary, because you don't have a camera crew lugging a camera in, trying to put mics on people and, getting in the way. Initially, people will look around and they'll spot the cameras, but after a while they forget about it. And they just do what they do. They just live their life. So you can see it from things like the first original documentary fixed rig shows, which is called The Family in 2008, from anything like Big Brother. Now, Big Brother, you could technically call it a documentary, but it's entertainment. That is really something different from something like 24 Hours in A&E, 24 Hours in Police Custody, or The Family. But, 24, that sort of franchise of fixed rig shows is documentary, and I can say that because they won RTS awards, and it's in the documentary category.
Yeah, but it shows how the boundaries between these things are blurry at times, don't they? We now teach, you wouldn't know this, but we now teach a fixed rig editing workshop with The Garden on our editing course, because it's a very technical kind of editing, isn't it? To take all those cameras and build a scene, and there's lots of work in that area, isn't there? There's lots of jobs.
Definitely,
Did you guys do work experience when you were at the school? Did you go on a work placement? Do you want to tell us the story of that? Where did you go? Go on, Andre, you kick us off. Where did you go?
ITV.
Right, so that's interesting. I work there, so.
Yeah, I've done mine at ITV on a show around the Olympics called Beats TV. It was a magazine. It ran for 2 weeks every day, live from London to the world. And I was part of the pre-production, and then I came to an OB day, and then it was great. It was really good, and that's actually where I've met Michael Kelpie and Phil Mount, who actually then just invited me to join Potato when I finished.
So that's a great example of doing a work experience that leads directly into work at the end. And
yes.
What was it, do you think that, do you just think it was your fantastic personality, Andre, that they responded to? What was it you think that they liked about you?
I think it was a combination of having an opportunity in there, and then they saw me at work as well. So I think that was a combination of all that. And then Potato is an ITV Studios label, opened in March 2013, which was exactly when I graduated. Yeah. So it was, at the right time, at the right place, I think.
That's great. We'll come back to what you've been doing since in a minute. Yeah. Ian, where did you go on placement?
I went to the very funny Hattrick Productions.
Oh, right, yeah, with Jimmy Ball and the team.
Yeah. That was great fun. So I got to see how they make Have I Got News For You and Face Jacket Series 2 whilst I was there, which was great fun. So setting everything up for shoot, where they're going to shoot internationally, and then working with the research team and Ed Tracy as well, just to work out how to actually make the series 2. So that was good fun. And so I've kept in cahoots with them, I should say, because they helped me then with my grad show in terms of any support I needed, both from an editorial point of view, to make sure that I was making something that the market would actually want to watch, which is quite interesting. And then since I've had the shows in development with them, so it's been a very fruitful relationship since leaving the film school.
And you just kept that going off your own back, keep it warm. And was it just making tea, the work experience, or was it more involved than that?
For me personally, it was far more involved. So I primarily got to work with the research teams and then some of the PM. So just saying, from booking locations to shooting, booking camera crew, then working with there to work out then his shot list and storyboard, stuff like that. So I got a full understanding of how they made their programs at a production company.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what about you, Abigail? Where did you go?
So my main work experience was with what at the time was called Fresh One. So that was Jamie Oliver's production company. And I worked under a really lovely guy called Jeremy Lee. And I think at the time I was only one person. I was only there for 2 weeks. I think I was the only person there doing research. So I was doing development and research there. But then I was an edit assistant at Raw TV, before it was the big thing that it is now. It's amazing. So I was edit assistant on the first series of Gold Rush.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't have a clue what I was doing most of the time. It was great fun, and because of that I learned a lot, and I got paired with an amazing editor called Chris Muckle, and he was really helpful. He really made me understand the process of editing. And after I did it for the whole of the summer. I think it was like 6 or 8 weeks. And by the end of it, he was letting me just do little bins of ideas of what I think the story should go. And he used some of them. That was really great. And then one of the other really good work experiences I did was off the back of when we went to the Rose Door. Do you remember when we went to Switzerland as part of the Rose Door? Right. And we helped them set it up. And then for the last 2 days, they gear up to do their equivalent of like the BAFTAs for Europe. And so I was the director's assistant, a guy called Harry. And off the back of that, I think that was like in it was September in the first year. And he emailed to say that he was going to be pitching to do the Champions League final in Wembley, and if he got it, he wanted me to be his assistant because he was Swiss and he didn't know anyone in London. The only person he knew in London apparently was me. So he said if he got it, he wanted me to be his assistant. And I said, okay. And I sent him an email back saying, yeah, I'll do it, thinking I have no idea what this means, but I'll do it. So I emailed him said, may the force be with you. And then 3 days later, he emailed back saying, Abigail, the force is with us. You're my assistant.
Oh, amazing.
Wow.
But that was 2011, 2012. And then every year after that, up until last year, I've worked on the Champions League final with Harry.
Wow. So
Yeah.
making that connection there, how important that was to your career. Amazing.
Definitely.
Can I add to that as well? Because at that same festival, I was very fortunate because they had a comedy masterclass there. So I got to meet various heads of comedies from around Europe. And one particular person who's been a mentor to me since leaving is Humphrey Barclay. So he used to be LWT, so Commission Space. He's worked on Birds of Feather. So very experienced, very well-known producer. And so from there, from the Rose Door through the film school, got to meet him. And he's been championing me since, which is fantastic.
Well, that's amazing.
It was a great festival to attend that particular year.
Excellent. I bet it was all work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All done.
And then, the other question I think that comes up quite a lot about the entertainment course is that, yes, it prepares you for production. We've talked a bit about that. But the other bit is about development. And actually, that's a really big part of the industry as well. Does somebody want to talk a bit about what development is and the type of, because I wonder if you've got friends from the years that you were at school who have actually gone off and worked in development rather than production, maybe. Who wants to take that one? Not sure it's well understood, you see, that not all the jobs.
Andre should.
Yeah. So yeah. No, so actually, well, I think we all have friends that work in development, and I think we all do development in our own time and pace. But development is huge just because it's the blood of the industry, and creating new formats. And the UK is the perfect place to actually just start. I think 50% of the formats worldwide come from the UK. So it's a big industry. There's a lot of people, even inclusively, people from years below mine that have worked at Potato in development as well. So basically development is to come up with new ideas and not just ideas, but to develop an idea from concept into a treatment and a pitchable doc and a taster and, pitch it to commissioners and just actually, take it across the line until a commission is done, and then you hand it over to the production.
And it's not unusual, is it, that people do that without then taking that, even if that show gets commissioned, they don't necessarily take it forward and physically make it.
Yeah, well, a lot of development people, well, some of them like to work on it in casting or, but I think most of the people that work in development, they work in development, they get the pilot done or the first series done, and then, they just keep coming up with new ideas and developing new shows.
It's hard work, isn't it, as well? I mean, I observed the Endemol Shine team do development for a period, and my God, it's soul-destroying sort of work, because for every 5 bad ideas you have, you get 1 good one, but you have to go through the bad ones first.
You've got to have a lot of thick skin.
Yeah.
Because it's constant rejection. I used to be a model agent, so I'm used to being around sending models off on jobs and knowing that if I send 10 girls, I'm lucky, and it's a big campaign, I'm lucky if I get 1 back.
Yeah.
You've got the job, and it's just the same. It's just constant rejection. So, and it depends on how you deal with it, because that's what it is essentially. If you know that your job is not to just fall at the first no, your job is to go, okay, they just haven't said yes to the next idea yet. And that's your job, is just to try and convince them. But I think I did 1 stint of development when I left, but I kind of dedicated myself to trying to get directing jobs. I knew it would be a hard slog, and I was just worried for myself personally that if I got into development or became a researcher, I'll get stuck. And I knew I had to just focus on directing.
What I would add is, in terms of development, what's nice, especially at film school, is like when you're doing a game show, because with shows like that, you've got to actually play it. As much as having the idea on paper, the best thing to actually make these ideas reality is to play them. I know that's a big part, especially when you're trying to get it commissioned. So I don't know if anyone's ever watched Quiz, but that's very much how it can be. So when you go to see a commissioner and it's like, let's play the game, because you only really understand the different elements of it when you actually run through it and play it and understand the world is created and how the different elements come together, which slightly leads into the kind of development I do in terms of more scripted stuff. So it's very much about the world you create as well as the characters. And that's obviously, that forms the base of every idea. What's the world, who are the characters, and what are we trying to say with this particular show or idea? So that's quite interesting to kind of have that through line from, I guess, your game shows, panel shows, entertainment-wise, to understand this is what we're trying to get across to the audience. That's
a really interesting point. And on that, playing the game shows, I remember, Andre, in that summer before you shot, you going around with bits of paper and you were playing your deal out, weren't you?
We were doing a run through every 2 weeks, I think, tweaking the format, tinkering, the points system, the money, how does that work? How do you eliminate people? Because sometimes, it looks like, oh, this is definitely going to work. And then you get in there in a real situation with normal people doing normal stuff and you go, oops. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think most of the people have watched Quiz on ITV, which was, a very successful drama series around Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And Who Wants to Be a Millionaire took almost 5 years, I believe.
10 years, it's 10.
Well, and it was called Cash Mountain until the very last minute. It's a process of, just making it better and better and better as you go along. And sometimes you just have to destroy it entirely and then just build it from scratch again. And it will work, but it just takes time.
I remember when I did, really quickly, that when I did a quiz show, I was directing a quiz show, and my job was just to make sure it worked, whatever I was given worked. And we got into the gallery and we worked out that it didn't work, but it was, it was good. I think you have to make those mistakes. Do you know what I mean? So that was the great thing about doing it at film school, is we could make the mistake and realize that you might think you've got it working. You might think it, like on paper, it looks like it works. But when we tried to do it and there was a problem with the play along section part of it, it didn't work. People were literally scratching their heads going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But it was great. Now with hindsight, I can say it was great that we did it, because it showed that we have to really prepare beforehand and know what is going to work. And if you have to do it every 2 weeks with pieces of paper and put them on the floor and work it out, then you have to do it.
To work it out there than when you're sat in an expensive studio.
Exactly. Exactly.
I should just say, I'm going to ask you to all talk a bit about what you've done since the film school in a second, but I should just say to those people watching, if you want to ask a question, you can do that via the chat or the Q&A button, and I'll ask it for you. So, Ian, why don't you kick us off? So you left film school, and what happened? Was it immediately into work, or was it tough? What was the journey for you?
It was a mixed bag. So my graduate actually got a really good reception from a lot of industry people, which was great. So that helped me do a lot of meetings with commissioners, producers, and stuff like that, who wanted to hear more about the show and also what other ideas I had. I actually managed to get the show broadcast, funny enough. So London Live.
Oh, I remember.
Yes, so they broadcast it as part of a showcase of new shows they were trialing.
And it was quite new. London Live was quite new at that point.
Yes, I think that launched in 2014, I think it was. And so Download was used as one of the shows they used to kind of premiere, which is great fun. That was nice to see it actually broadcast on TV and see a big audience enjoy it. Then had that in development, which was great with ABC, to try and turn it into a series for the American market. So that was great in terms of opening those doors and allowing me to connect with a bigger industry than, also more people than I knew beforehand. I then did a very interesting YouTube series, funnily enough. This was one of my first jobs, which is basically football YouTubers, and the show is called the Wembley Cups, and it's all about the road to Wembley. And each episode, 2 head YouTubers basically try and recruit new players through a series of games. There's a mixture of like game show elements as well as scripted, because we had the same script stuff. But the reason I bring it up, because what was great about the show is we shot 4 cameras on location. And then the final episode, which we live streamed on YouTube, I got to direct 12 cameras. Wow. And only because of being at the film school did I have that confidence, also knowledge, to be able to direct single camera as well as that many cameras. Yeah. So that was great fun. So that kind of helped me, again, just establish myself a bit more just as a director who could do both multi-camera and single camera. And then because my whole thing is about doing drama and comedy, so I wanted to specialize in those areas. Then managed to join BBC Children's to do some stuff with them, which led me onto the 4 O'Clock Club. So that was great fun. So I got 5 episodes of that, of series 8.
Are these all freelance gigs?
Yes, yeah, so it's strictly freelance. Basically, yes, gun for hire, if you will, on some of these jobs. I should add as well, actually, so not long after film school, I was then able to get like a commercial agent as well and a talent agent. So they all took time, but people then saw something in me and liked my style and the voice I was trying to push and wanted to try and help me career-wise. So that's helped me massively since. Did the 4 O'Clock Club, then did some continuing dramas. I've done Emmerdale, a couple other smaller pilots as well, and then up until recently, just done a show called In the Long Run. So that's the Idris Elba comedy. Very much, so, yeah. So that series 3 comes out next month. Sorry, I sound like I'm plugging, but I'm not plugging.
I'm watching, don't worry.
Yes, yeah, please do tune in. We worked very hard.
How many episodes of that did you do? How many episodes of In the Long Run?
I did 2 episodes of that.
Right.
The series 3. So I've been fortunate. I've had a mixture of bigger shows as my career's gone on, but it's all very much started from the film school and the graduate I put together. So I think that's very helpful.
And so so your agent pitches you out as a director for sitcoms or
a mixture. So from sitcoms to drama as well. Right. So now I'm trying to get into more high-end stuff. So your 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock kind of shows. That's the aim now.
Well, but In the Long Run's a big break for you, I guess. That's a big one of Sky's biggest shows, isn't it? So yeah,
and what's great about that as well, we're actually in the US as well, so we're on the Stars Network in America. So that's helped me then branch there as well, just as a director. Yeah. So it's been very helpful just in terms of getting my career to the next stage.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations. It's really brilliant.
Thank you very much.
We've watched you do all these amazing things. So it's great. What about you, Abigail?
So I was actually working before I started properly freelancing after graduating, because of doing the Rose Door. I then worked on the Champions League final, and I met a woman who was a stage manager on the Champions League final, who, after that finished, we stayed in touch, and she said that she had a little job that she was doing at the end of the year, and she wanted to get fresh blood into the industry. She was a stage manager. So she was floor managing on the Champions League final, but she was going on to this new role as a stage manager. And she asked me if I was going to be available, but it was coinciding with when I was going to be in the edit on my grad show. But she said I should really consider trying to see if I get time out of film school to do it. And I was like, okay, fine. And I remember going to David and saying, look, this woman's asked me if I can take some time out to do this thing. And he's like, so what is it? And I'm like, I don't actually know, but she said it's worthwhile asking. So he went, could you go back and find out? So I did. And this woman, Sam, basically, she said she wanted me to be one of the stage managers for the auditions of the opening and closing ceremonies of the Olympics and Paralympics. Wow. So I did that for 3 weeks in October, November 2011. And I was asked back to do another 3 weeks for the auditions again in February, March of 2012. And we were graduating. This is coming up to our graduation. Yeah. My last day, I think, no, it was actually the day after. My last day on that stint of the auditions was the day after graduating. And I was I was basically student union president, so I'd organised the party, and I couldn't get drunk. I remember. I had a couple of drinks, and I did remember having a slight hangover. But yeah, I had my last day on that. Wow. And then got interviewed. They called me in for an interview. Called us all in for interviews. There was 50 of us, and there were like 25 assistant stage managers who were in the first or third year of drama school training to be stage managers, and there were 24 proper West End live events, concert, big corporate stage managers. And then there was me, who knew nothing about stage management. And I had an interview on my last day of doing the 3-week stint of auditions, where they interviewed us to go to be the main stage managers for the actual events. And so I thought, they're just going to say, it's lovely having you, how's it been? And we had a nice chat. And they said, yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And I thought, they're being really sweet. It's a really nice way of saying we don't really like you, or we don't really want you because you're not really a stage manager. And then a week later, I got a letter saying we want you to be part of the stage management team. So I did all the 4 ceremonies, opening closing ceremonies, Olympics and Paralympics.
That's such an amazing thing to have done.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think because of doing that, that's why I really want to do live. Yeah. So I'm big live events. So I would love to do an opening ceremony.
You've done a mix of sport, game shows. You've done a whole range of.
Yeah, so I've done. So when I do Champions League final, up until I think it was 2017, I'd done it as a floor manager, and floor managing is a great way to getting into learning about working in a studio, and because you are the eyes and ears of the director, and a lot of directors have been floor managers in the past. So I floor managed on Champions League finals, Super Cup finals, Europa finals. But in 2017, Harry let me do a very small, well, I think it was from Milan, yeah, and he did a small multi-camera piece for the blue carpet arrivals. And we were told we were going to get all these massive like stars who were going to come. And we had like Sergio Garcia, who was pretty lovely, but is a golfer I'd never heard of, and Ollie Murs, who's sweet, but it wasn't like an A-list celebrity we were planning to get. But I've done that. I've done Big Brother, 24 Hours on A&E, GPs Behind Closed Doors. I've done quiz shows, Tipping Point, Impossible. Then in 2018, I did my first run of quiz shows called Wonderful for BBC Scotland, because it was a new channel that was opening up. Then last year, I did my first series direct of Love Song, which was another BBC Scotland show, which was looking for love through the medium of song. Which is the way I sell it to everybody, which is lovely, except for BBC Scotland, who are great, and the production of companies I've worked with are amazing, but their budgets are tiny. Yeah. But it's, you've got to start somewhere, and it's a great experience.
And now you're at a point where you only have to pitch yourself as a director. You kind of you're not managing work or any of that anymore.
I probably, if Champions League called me up and said, we want you to do it again, I would do it, because the atmosphere is amazing.
Are you actually a football fan, Abigail? Do you like football?
You know what? I do. I just don't follow it as much as I used to. So I'm like I'm a proper gooner. I'm North London girl,
So you're not a football fan?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, so I would do. I've enjoyed working with you.
I bet that's great. I bet they're really exciting nights.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the best. It's so exhilarating. I can feel goosebumps. It's so exhilarating. You're in a stadium and there's 80,000 people shouting and screaming for their team. And also the lovely thing about working on that is I get a pass which allows me to go anywhere in the stadium except for the men's change rooms, which is pretty good fun. But like when they're playing, the little strip that goes around the outside of the football field before, it's like the barrier between the field and the fans. I walk regularly around there and just stand and watch from any vantage point. I'm very lucky.
The live bit's the buzz for you, whether it's a game show or a football match. It's
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, I love communal experiences. I know with like streaming and time shifting and all that sort of stuff, but I think I'm probably a child of the era of the water cooler moment when you watch something, whether it was Who Wants to Win in the Air, and it's like whether they're going to phone a friend on it, the last point, could they win, or it's something like EastEnders and it's Christmas and everyone's watching it, or it's, I mean? I like that communal experience the most, but then layer on top of that live. I think that's we're humans and we like to be told stories, but we also like to share stories and go through the roller coaster of emotion. So that's what I hope to share when I direct.
That's great. Andre, what about you? What happened? So you went back to Potato, did you?
Yeah.
As it was launching, so kind of on the ground with them. And what's happened for you since?
So I worked in development for a couple of years. Got commissions. I was, part of the development team, was making pitch docs and cutting taster tapes. We got Ninja Warrior commission, Cannonball, and How to Catch a Killer, all that. And then slowly I moved more into, I've PD'd, the first show I've PD'd was on Ninja Warrior.
Which my kids love and make me watch and think I should go on. So Andre, we should talk.
Definitely.
I'll be done in the first minute of that assault course.
Are you insured? That's the question.
And that shot in Manchester, is it, Andre?
Yes, it was shot in Manchester. We did 5 series of those.
Right.
And then
producer director on that.
At first it was only on the green screen chats before they go and after they come out, and then the following 2 years I did the VTs. Right. I was part of the team making the VTs for the contestants, and also then the green screen, and then actually on the first year I work on the digital side. So that kind of planted the seed for what I'm doing now in a way. So, you know, we launched a YouTube channel and all that back in the day. We did the first VR experience as well. And then I've edit produced on reality shows, doc reality really. The Mummy Diaries, Fern McCann, First Time Mom. And then now since a year and a half, almost 2 years actually, I've started the digital content department at Potato.
And that was a new thing for Potato. You started it from scratch.
Yes. So we started this from scratch. I always kind of liked a lot of things, right? And I think the digital space kind of allows you to be able to do all that. And it's much faster than development in a way, because you can have an idea this morning and then just get it out and try it out in the afternoon at some point. So, you know, that's been kind of the breeding ground for, you know, promoting our shows, having Instagram accounts, creating digital first and mobile first experiences for the fans of the shows.
And is it always digital content related to shows that already exist, or is there original digital shows as well?
So at first we've started doing only supporting our shows and things related to the show, YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, Q&A regarding to motherhood, for example. So we start spinning those stuff. We also do branded content. Right. And now we are trying to get across the line some ideas. We got 2 shows commissioned on the back of the YouTube channel success. We've got archive shows, perfect for lockdown viewing. And we are now trying to get more original commissions.
Fantastic. And you've got a very fancy title on you, Andre. What's your title at Potato?
Yeah, it's quite a head of digital content.
That's a pretty great title. We've got to give you a round of applause for that. So actually, the same course has sent 3 people out into almost, you know, very different directions. And I think that's really, really interesting. I've got 1 or 2 questions that are coming in. But before we go to those, what are the things that you think applicants need to, or people who are going to be successful in entertainment need? What are the skills and sorts of personal qualities that you think have really benefited you, and that you think people coming through need to be successful?
Who wants to start? Abigail?
What do they need? Ability to work without a lot of sleep.
It's hard work. And
it is hard work, and you've got to be prepared for it. It's not a walk in the park. And I think that does really prepare you for working in the outside world. Not that I'm advocating, you know, working 24 hours a day, but you do have to know how to manage yourself and manage your energy levels, and also be flexible and realize that the school, I think, really does prepare you. It's a very creative endeavor. It does prepare you for what's going to happen in the outside world to the best of its ability, because it is a film school and there are boundaries. Do you know what I mean? But I think for the most part, but also I think you have to know that you have to be the sort of person that goes out and makes your own luck and works hard. Because I think some people think that because you went to NFTS, you get it easy. Couldn't be further from the truth.
I agree.
Sometimes I think you have to work even harder, because because of that preconception, that people think that, you know, you want to NFTS, you're going to get handed things on a plate. I think with our course especially, not that many people knew about it when we graduated.
Yeah.
It's still a very new course, and I think it probably still is one of the sort of only courses of its type in the world. Not very many people know about it. Yeah. Especially with directing and multi-camera directing, there weren't schools that you were taught it. You know, the kind of directors that you watch now on big game shows, live shows, all that sort of stuff, they learnt at places like MTV Studios, or they learnt at the BBC in the BBC Academies, or they learnt at Granada Studios, or they learnt on Big Breakfast, or they learnt, you know, on children's television. That's where they initially learned. But those places, unfortunately, don't exist for new directors. And I didn't know that really at the time, because I didn't even want to be a director when I started. But I'm so glad that I went there, because if I had produced only, or just was trained in production when I was at NFTS, and then went out into the world wide, I don't doubt for a second I probably would have still wanted the director's job, but would have gone, how do I do it? Do you know what I mean? That leap for me would have been too great. So I think it's about having it's about your own, I can't remember the exact phrase, it's like an internal motivation that you have to push yourself and really push yourself. You've got to be able to stretch. And one thing I had of a boss years ago used to say that like the best stuff happens just outside your comfort zone. You don't go too far out because you'll scare yourself witless and you'll never want to do it again. I've done it before. But just know what you need to do, know what you can do, and then just push it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think if you can do that, and that's the reason why I did the OB show with my grad. We'd worked in the studio and I had people saying, Abigail, no, just do it in the studio. And I was like, no, in case I never get a chance to do it. And I'm glad I did it because it informs what I want to do in the future.
That's great. And what about working in teams and collaboration? How important's that been?
I say it's imperative. Sorry, just to add to Abigail's wonderful comments as well. I'd add that kind of it's good to know what you think you want to do in terms of industry, coming to the film school and after, but be willing to embrace everything the course throws at you, because it throws so much at you, and don't say no. So embrace all, and you've got to try all these things, because what's great about the film school is one place you can try and fail, but you can only fail upwards, and you never really fail because the support system's there to make sure you actually continue to learn and better yourself. So come with an open mind as much as you can, because you don't know what skills you'll pick up that will help you along the line. So stuff I've learned from like the game shows and panel shows and stuff still actually informs certain decisions I made creatively on my scripted stuff.
So if you just said, all right, it's a game show, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Don't a load of opportunities.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, definitely don't do that.
Students, who come and they're so blinkered on the thing that they think they want to do that they miss out on all these other opportunities.
Because Abigail's great testament as well. She wanted to produce, and now I want to become a director, still produce stuff like that. So I think if you embrace everything the course has, but also the school, because there's so many great departments that allow you to collaborate as well. And that helps when you leave the film school, because that's how it is in the industry. You'll collaborate with cinematographers, sound mixers, sound recorders. So you need to make sure you make the most of that wonderful student body and learn from the students, because you learn so much from the staff, but the students as well. And we're all there to help each other. So you've got to have a very open mind. And
you don't know where they're going to end up, do you? Because Alex Harwood did the music for your show, Andre.
Yeah.
And so she's gone on and she's done big feature films. She's just doing All Creatures Great and Small, the reboot of that now. So people go out and do amazing things, don't they?
I think also in our year, so we've got Sean, who's head of development at Betty, and we've got Agnello, who I can't remember, he's like SVP of the world. I can never remember what his title is. SVP. Technically, they will be in positions that I can go, hi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think, and don't get me wrong, film school isn't all sort of like running through fields of sunflowers. It can do your head in.
Yeah.
And but that again is like, that's what's going to happen in the real world. So get used to it. But it's about learning that sometimes you might have disagreements, or you might not get on, or you might see things from different points of view. But that's again another way of learning. How do you either mitigate them or deal with them? Because you're going to have to do it out in the real world. So if you can get all your learning done in that space where it's relatively calm and safe, it should help you better when you get in the real world. Relatively, But I really, and also for me, I didn't finish my first degree, so for me it was like a whole new experience. I was like, I'm going to try everything. I'm going to meet everyone. I'm going to know as much as I can about, lots of different disciplines that I would never normally know about. It was great.
Great. Andre, you looked like you were going to come in a minute ago. Did you how did the collaborating and teamwork thing work for you? Because you had to unlike Abigail and Ian, you had to co-create your grad project. Yeah.
Oh, so Auntie is a great friend of mine, still up to today. So it ended up working. But, we had some fights. I remember once we were just arguing all over the school for like 45 minutes, shouting at each other. And then we just went around the bar and we just had a pint and everything is fine.
The best thing of the school is the bar, because that's where all your agreements all go out and fall away.
it's you find a compromise, and I think you do learn, the principles of being open and being curious to learn more, and to find ways to actually work together. So that's a great point too.
Because entertainment, I mean, I think film, there's this idea of the auteur, which we try and tell people is a load of nonsense anyway. But there is an auteur sort of singular vision in film. But in television, it's very collaborative, isn't it? It's very team-based. And so if you can't work with other people, it's probably not the right discipline for you.
No.
Are there any hard skills you need? Is being organised important? Are there things that are particularly...
Organised and timekeeping.
Yeah.
If you come up in live television, you need to be... One of the things... do you remember... I don't know if you had it in your year, but Nick did when we first joined, the A to Z of working in... being at the film school or working in film and television. And one was, if you're on time, you're already late.
Oh, that was his famous Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
On time, you're late.
That is the one thing I try my best to always be on time and always be organised, and just try and try and know as much as you can, but also know I feel it's okay to say I don't know. And I've got used to saying that and not caring what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
Because I think I've sat in meetings where, regardless whether it's television or working in fashion or whatever, but people have said I don't know. Have not said I don't know, and then have looked stupid further down the line, rather than going, look, that's not my speciality. Yeah. I don't know, but I'm willing to go and do the homework and find out, or can you help me? But I think just being honest, I think if people go a lot better, a lot further, if we were just a bit honest and say, you know what, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. I think that's, for me, is the most important. When I hear that of other people, I'm like, you're the kind of person I want to be around.
Yeah. And then the other thing I was thinking was kind of the speed of working is different in what you guys do. I mean, in film, you might spend 4 or 5 months in pre-production and then shoot 3 pages a day for 10 days or whatever. That's not the way you guys work, is it? So that's a thing to push? That's exciting, the kind of speed of work?
Yeah, I've had the fortune of doing both, so shooting quickly but also shooting at a film pace. Yeah. What I will say is the best bit of advice I can always give is prep hard to shoot easy. Yeah. If you prep to within an inch of your life, it means when you step on set, you can put everything that's still in your head to practice, and you don't have to worry, because then you can make far more creative decisions. Whether you need to shoot quickly or cut your cloth, you've done all the work you need to, so literally on the day when it comes to shooting, no matter what obstacles are thrown you, you can be creative. So I think that's the key thing, is with the speed, because in TV we do have to work very quickly, especially with some of the factual stuff I've done. You have to make sure you're fully prepped to know then, okay, this is the obstacle, how do I get around it as quickly as possible? And also just lean on your team. Because you're, as a director or producer, trying to do so much, there's always someone else that can offer something else just to help, give you a respite, and don't be afraid to accept the help. Because sometimes people think of everything, it's not always the case. Your team is there to make sure you get through it together.
Oh yeah, no, that's good.
Can I just add to that? Because, I made that mistake at the very initial stages of being at the film school, because I'm the sort of person, I don't know whether it's because I'm an older child and I'm so used to just looking after everybody, but I would want to do everything, and it's just so draining, and I burnt myself out. You just can't do that. I wanted to be across everything. Once I got into my head that I wanted to direct, because as a director, you are kind of like the head of the head ofs. But my job is not to know everybody else's job or to make all the decisions. My job is to relinquish that bit of power to those people, to enable them to do the job so they can do it to the best of their abilities. But know that if I need something from them, if I have to ask them a question, I do expect them to know. But it's not my job to know. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, that was really important, because I made the mistake too often at the very beginning before really understanding what a director is. And director isn't have to have my fingers in all the department's pies. That is not it. Yeah. My job is to sit back, let them all make their own pies, bring their pies to the table, we all share the pie. Do you know what I mean? But the other thing also is, I have worked, so off the back, I'm going to name drop, off the back of doing the Olympics, Danny Boyle asked me to be a third assistant on Babylon, which is one of the first shows he did.
Channel 4 show.
Channel 4 show. So I was assistant director. Now, bearing in mind, I've never done anything like this before. I don't even know why he was asking me, but he's asked me. It's Danny Boyle. I'm saying yes. The pace at which film people work, TV people, scripted, oh my God.
It's like,
can't. I did actually have to do something a couple of years ago, and I thought I'd do it. I've been offered it. I'm going to try it, but it's just like slowly. Yeah, I need that kind of. Let's get it. Also, I think because being a multi-camera director, turning on the studio lights is expensive. You haven't got time to waste. You've got to use everything all the time, all your resources as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because when you wrap, you're cool. When your wrap time is happening, as it's approaching, you've got to get out of the studio because it goes into overtime. Everyone needs to get paid, and they're all looking at you as a director. If it goes wrong, that is the worst thing you can do, is go over your wrap time.
And Andre, for you, the digital space, that pace and that variety, you're saying you can have an idea in the morning and be executing it in the afternoon. That appeals to you, I assume. Yeah,
I think speed is very important when it comes to in TV as well, but in the digital space even more. If you miss the boat, there's only one viral time because then it's just gone, and the next big thing's gonna come. It's very, very fast paced, and I think a lot of people just spend a lot of time thinking, I think it's right, when you go out shooting, the more you prep, the better you're going to be equipped with it. But I think having a bias for action and understanding that speed actually does matter. And a lot of decisions, a lot of things that you do today might have an impact tomorrow, but, might also be forgotten tomorrow. So, taking a calculated risk into things you do is important. And so is frugality in a way, as in everyday's life, being able in TV and in digital content as well to be able to accomplish more with less. I think that's an important part of what we do. And, just being resourceful, and it just makes us more inventive, really. So, being self-sufficient and trying to do as much as you can with the least amount of things possible. So that's quite important.
So we're pretty much out of time. There's a couple of questions here. A quick one, which was from a graduate of the course, actually, who said they can't imagine ever having to have directed and produced their grad show. Andre didn't have to do. So I wonder how you guys, was it totally overwhelming, or was it was manageable? How did it?
No way was it manageable. I laugh in your face. No way. But we had to do it. That was
the only option.
You don't know, sorry, David, I'm just here. I'm all about directing. Can you get someone else? It wasn't going to happen. It was like, you're going to do a grad show or you're not.
Yeah, and actually, since you guys have left, we've got PMs, production managers, but we've also
don't want to hear it, John. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
Camera, sound, and vision mixing students, which we never had when you.
Yeah, thanks. Probably because the film school nearly killed us. Lot.
I think we realised. So
we had to give each other collective therapy. Yeah. To this day.
And Pamela's asked the question, which is for you, Abigail and Ian. She says, how have they found their journey as melanated individuals? Because it's nice to see how successful they've been from the hard work they've put in.
It's very kind. It has not been without its difficulty, to be frank. I think, because in the industry, you get used to rejection. So you have to have that strong perseverance to get around it. But I've been very fortunate is that I've had good people champion me to make sure I get those breaks, because sometimes everyone gets breaks at different periods. So make sure you've got good people around you, especially that help. So, because when you leave film school, you're well equipped to do so much.
Yeah. But
the industry doesn't always know you're ready. But if you've got the right people championing you, it helps greatly. And I've had some great people championing me, which has helped me overcome many obstacles. People saying no for either fear of he's overqualified, which I always find a bizarre thing to say, or just scared to take a risk. But we need more risk takers, and it's also good to have good people champion you. That's been very beneficial to my career personally.
Abigail, I think you want to say?
Yeah, I think I hate the whole risk-taking thing. I think it's a load of... I have to sort of censor myself because I so want to swear, and I know that I can't. It's not about risk, because we're not risk. It's about giving someone an opportunity in the same way you give other people opportunities. Yeah. That's the way I see it. And so if the world or the industry isn't prepared to give me, it's not the whole industry anyway. If some people within the industry aren't prepared to give me an opportunity, my job is to find the people who are, and everybody else can literally just do one, as far as I'm concerned. That's not what they want to do is not my business. And I know sometimes some people don't understand that, but that's probably the way that I've had to deal with it in order to get as far as I have done so far. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be. This for me is just the beginning. My thing has always been about, to a degree, this is where I have to put blinkers on. This is my career. I don't give a flying about what anybody else is doing. That is my goal, and I've got to keep going it and going to get it. And that's as much as I can do. So the other thing I think also is, and it's specifically for Black and brown people and any kind of person who is deemed different, is you've got to really, there's a phrase which is I'll see it and then I'll believe it, and I don't think that way. I will believe it and then I will believe it, then you will see it, because as far as I know, in this country there has never been a Black multi-camera woman director, right? So I'm a special unicorn, and but I couldn't do this job if I sat behind and thought I'm going to wait until I can see it before I can believe it. There's no one for me to look for. I can't. Do you know what I mean? So when people say that, I have to correct, and they probably think I'm being an idiot, and I don't really care, because I've had to do it with my own life, my own experience. There is nobody else I can look to. So when people go, you can talk to your peers, I'm like, there's a peer of one, and that's me, and I'm done talking with myself. I mean, Ian has been on the end of a phone call when I've needed to go, wah! And it's great, and that's a good thing with the film school, but I think you've got to get over that, and just, because there's an author called Toni Morrison, and she has a thing, and I'm going to bring it in here because it has to, and it's back to Pamela's point, when she says, racism is a distraction. That's one of her quotes. And I can see what she means by that, but I exist in this world and I acknowledge what this world is. But if I spent every day worrying about that, I would never get anywhere. My job is to find the good people I need to work with, the good shows I want to work with, and follow what it is I want to do, and do it with a healthy sense of well-being, knowing that just me existing is enough in this world. I've got to. Otherwise, what's the point? I might as well just stay in bed. And there are days when I've had to want to stay in bed. But I've got to get up and do my thing. That's what we all do. In the same way anybody wants to go and do the job that they want to do. You just got to get up and do it. So, maybe I've got...
You're all incredibly inspiring, and you've all done brilliantly since you left the school. I know you said, Abigail, you're just getting going, but I think even for students coming through now, to be able to look ahead at where you guys have got to in just a few short years is massively heartening. So they can see it to believe it now, in a way.
Yeah, but I was still the same to them.
Oh yeah, they'll have their own things that they want to do. But it's really amazing how much you've all achieved, and we'll look forward to seeing you go on and do other amazing things. Listen, thanks for your time over lunch and for taking the time to chat to us. I think it is a really amazing course, and it sets people up for really remarkable careers, as you've very helpfully kind of shown us over the last hour.
Yeah. The last thing I just want to add is just all the prospective students, believe in your own source, because the fact you've got into film school is fantastic, but keep that same energy as you go into the industry, because with that perseverance and hard work, you can go very far.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you, Ian. Thanks, everybody. We'll leave you there.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.